From brain fog to hot flashes,
mood swings to mystery symptoms,
we're asking the big question. Can
I blame it on menopause? Join us as we share stories, laugh through the chaos, and talk about things women wish they'd known sooner.
It's honest, it's relatable, and it's about time.
Hey, Lissa, how are ya?
You know what? I'm hanging in there. Hanging in there. It's a day.
Yeah. We finally have our first podcast out. We're starting our second. I feel like, are we getting the hang of this?
Don't get too ahead of ourselves.
Technology has not been my friend today. From work to this. So, like, if I drop off at some point, it's just, me being in my 40s trying to figure this stuff out.
That's like real, like trying to figure out some of this stuff. Like, I feel like we are pretty smart women. Like, I have always felt like intelligence wise, we're somewhere in the mid range. Maybe not the smartest person in the room, but
We're not the
smart enough to
dumbest.
live my life. Right. We're not the dumbest either. But like trying to learn this technology just with like even in this, like trying to figure out how we're recording, how we're sharing. Our first episode, very proud of our first episode. We did it on the fly. We were just like, we're gonna have to jump headfirst into this and just do it. And then, only after the fact, we're like, maybe in a hotel lobby wasn't the best move.
But I mean, when you have that many strong cosmos, like everything is a great idea. We didn't think that somehow we'd have to edit this and get it on a platform. And thankfully, while I failed at that miserably, you jumped in and saved us.
Oh, I would not say. You found an awesome platform for us. So I'm very excited. Like, now we just have to learn it, because it's like that's the learning curve is steep.
Yeah. I do feel like I am the idea man and you are the one that like implements the ideas.
This is what makes us a good team. Yeah. You've always been like the ideas guy.
I know. Sometimes, they're good. Sometimes they crash and burn. As we're sitting here laughing, I don't know, this has not been a great day emotionally. I don't think for either of us. So I think it was a really good day that you decided, hey, let's get on and do this. So you want to tell everybody what we're doing today?
Well, today, and we kind of touched on it in our first episode, we're really going into like the feels part of this, like the mental health component. And honestly, I could say for myself, this whole week has been a mental struggle for me. And I think with frustration with like the outside, things that, are at play all the time, but also internally, my inability to focus, my just constantly feeling on edge. Like, we're going to get into like the, mood swings, exhaustion, the like raging out over things, just the roller coaster of like the gamut of emotions that we go through all the time. And they have peaks and valleys, and it's been a rough week.
Yeah, I'm feeling it more today. Well, maybe yesterday too. I don't know. We can ask Tim. But it started at rage, then it became I'm feeling sorry for myself, and now it's kind of sad and weepy. And now I'm just maybe I'm coming out of it because I'm like, whatever, it is what it is.
That is real. And I think, I still, one thing I really do want to do, I haven't done yet, is watch that Oprah special that came out. So we need to, that'll be research. We'll watch that. But I did catch a clip of it recently. And she was talking about that feeling right there, feeling nothing, and how that's something, again, like I feel like ties into this, mental health. And not that I'm a mental health specialist and I don't want to pretend to be, but that it kind of dips into the mental health part of that, where you do get to a point, you like kind of go up and down and all over the place. And then you hit this like numb feeling almost, where you just don't feel anything. You don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, you just don't care. Like, I think that's like where I get to points where I'm like, I just don't even care. And that is
Yeah.
a slippery slope because there are things in life one must care about. And when you find yourself like, I don't even care. And I'm like, wait, no, like, that's my kid in school. I have to care about those two things, or this is my job, or, whatever it might be. I'm like, I have to care about those things because I need them. And when this feeling shifts and suddenly I'm oozing with gratitude about how much I love these things, I'm going to want them there still.
Yeah, there's some bridges to repair at that point. Oh shit.
And I can tell
Remember
you,
when I
I
didn't
can
care
burn
2
some
days?
bridges.
Yeah. Remember when I didn't care 2 days ago? Well, I'm feeling better now, and I do care.
Good news, I care now. It's a real thing. Like, that's a real issue, is like even like you said, you'd ask Tim, because I'm like, I feel like, I think we're both married to men who are smart enough. Also, they like to breathe. They won't say anything in the moment. Like, they're going to let us like be upset or throw our fits or cry or do whatever it is we're doing. And they're just going to be supportive and how they know how to be. And it's not until like after they know they're in the clear and we're good again that then they're like, yeah, 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 you might have overreacted a little.
Yeah, I went upstairs for lunch, and he was upstairs eating, and I was freaking out because we didn't have anything to eat, and why do I keep buying these groceries, and these groceries suck, and what are you eating? Where'd you find that? And why didn't you save any for me? And
Yeah.
he's just trying to eat his
I
lunch
mean,
and go back to work.
just catching strays.
I was thinking as I was heating up whatever it was I ate, which was very unsatisfying. Um, I really need to fire the person who buys these groceries because they're not good at it. Side note, that's me. I'm the grocery buyer.
Yeah, it's even, again, I feel like that's even worse. Like, it's so much worse when you're mad about something that like you actually were responsible for, or like when I'm mad because I have forgotten something, or I can't focus, or I just can't, like, the brain fog is so real that I will be sitting there looking at like something for work or something, at home or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, I know that I know this, but yet I can't work through the fog to like figure it out, like whatever it is I'm trying to do, or remember. And then the anger that I get at myself is like, I mean, I can rage out on myself just like I can anybody else.
I don't
Probably
know
even
about
hurt my
you.
own feelings.
I know the lack of focus has been my issue earlier in the week because I think I rewashed the same load of clothes 3 times.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I've noticed too that now more than ever, I have to rely on notes. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't just remember all the things that I want to accomplish. I have to like write it down, which is really disappointing that I have to do that now.
Well, I have to be transparent. My memory has never been the best. So I've always depended on like notes and reminders on my phone and like calendar stuff. I mean, if you could see how I like run our household with like the calendar on our phone and a calendar, like a weekly calendar by the door, my memory is not great anyway, but it's so much worse. I didn't think it could get worse. Like, I always had gotten frustrated with myself with not being able to remember things. And now I'm just like, I can't remember anything. Like,
I
if
used
it's not a reminder in my phone, I don't remember it.
I used to be so good at remembering things and like people's names, and now it's like, oh God, what is her name? I can't remember her name.
Like, you're supposed to, when you meet somebody, you are supposed to, like, they say, like, I say, hi, I'm Lissa. And you go, hi, Lissa, I'm Molly. Like, that's supposed to help you remember. Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Also, who does that? You sound a little psychopathy.
Well, I do, and I am a little psychopathy, and it still doesn't work.
Hi, Lisa. I'm Molly. I would run away from
I
you.
totally do it. And it doesn't work. Still don't remember your name. I say, hi, Molly, I'm Lissa. And you walk away and I'm like, man, what was her name again?
Yeah, we've known each other for 8 years.
Interesting. Like, I feel like I read something that said how menopause is like puberty in reverse. And
Oh.
I was like, okay, which I mean, I'm saying now I'm saying it out loud and I'm like, that's not that profound, actually. But
No, I
when you
mean, it
really,
kinda is.
yeah, when you really stop and think about it and you're like, okay, this is like a massive hormonal change, just like it was, however many years ago. I'm not even going to do
A
the math on that.
long, a long time ago.
Long time ago. But then, like, on the flip side, I'm like, okay, so we have these massive hormonal changes, and like we've had years and years of PMS, right? Like we've been doing those cycles,
No, never had PMS.
and well, let me tell you, Jimmy
That will be fact
Vogel,
checked. So that'll be fact checked.
Jimmy Vogel can tell you some stories. um, but I'm like, okay, so and I actually really like I had really weird cycles and I had, a lot of issues. I mentioned in the last episode that I had a hysterectomy and that was due to like the issues I'd had for years. And so I would have these times like where I would either have like a really, really bad like physical issue that month. Like I'd have the horrible migraines and the terrible cramps and like I would vomit from cramping sometimes. Um, and then like I would switch and like the next month would be like the ragey, weepy, like monster that would come out in me. And like it would kind of went back and forth. And so I had really bad PMS. Like there were times where like it was so bad. And like I could feel it coming on and I would just know. And then like the week would go by and then I'd say something to, Jimmy and be like, I feel like I was really PMS. And he'd be like, were you?
I I
um,
did too, actually. Well, when I was in high school, it was diagnosed as a hormone imbalance. Now it's called polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I had horrible, horrible periods, which I think a lot of really bad PMS and the other side effects, pimples and stuff. But now it's not the pimples so much as like the crazy hair that like I have to pull out all those old lady like whiskers all the time. I told Tim when we're old and in a nursing home, that's gonna be his full-time job.
I mean, I'm practically like I could shave my beard like Jimmy
I
does.
know.
How do you feel like your menopause, like with the PMS like symptoms? Because that's really what it's like. But
Yeah.
like, how do you feel that is in relation to what it was like for you with PMS?
Um, well, like I said, PMS was really strong cramps. I was one of those people that could tell which side I was ovulating on. Could you tell that when you were younger?
I
You could.
could.
So cramps, lots of pimples, oily skin. Now, on the flip side, I think my face, my lips dry, all the time dry. I don't sleep, big insomnia issue, and the mood swings are gigantic. Past couple days especially, really pendulum is just back and forth. Do you feel that way?
100%. Like I never had acne issues ever. Like I was one of the
Oh,
like
nobody likes a
kids.
bragger.
I know. I was like the kid that didn't have those issues. And I will tell you, like, I mean, I not that I never got them. I would always get like the period pimple that was like a
Yeah.
big sign on my face that was like, guess who's in town? Um, but like I didn't ever like battle acne like widespread or for any like given amount of time. And then I had a weird thing. One of the earliest symptoms that I experienced was back knee. And I
Oh,
had never, and that was like right around the time I was like getting ready to turn 40 and like kind of in that probably about a year span. And it felt like no matter what I was doing, and I will say like my face was breaking out a lot more often as well. But it still would never like became super widespread, but it was very consistent, much more so than I'd ever battled before. Um, and so that was weird for me. And then I was frustrated because I was battling acne and thinking like, okay, this is weird. I've never had to battle acne and also gray hair. And so then I was getting annoyed because I'm like, we got to pick a lane. I'm like pulling chin hairs and plucking gray hairs out of my head and fighting acne like I'm 13. Like, what is
Yeah,
happening
that's
right
not
now?
fair. I really feel like that's the unfair part about this. We've already done that. We've already done our time with that. We should not have to do that again. Like, come
Right?
on.
I mean, at
Yeah.
least in this phase in our life, we're not trying to like get the boy in class to like look at us and like us. Like our husbands will put up with the chin hair and pimples. They don't care.
Just as long as you don't freak out on
But
them.
and that's what I was gonna say. So, but when it comes to like my mood swings and emotions, like really like emotional dysregulation, it's so much worse than I ever felt in puberty and PMS, even pregnancy. And I would say that, not to get too far ahead of myself, but I would say that the exhaustion is more than I ever felt even being pregnant. And I thought there
Yeah.
was no tired like pregnant tired. And
Oh
I
my
have
gosh.
determined there is no tired like menopause tired.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like 7:30 at night and I'm like, oh, is it too early to go to bed? Because
I
I'm gonna
say
wake
that
up
all
at
the
3.
time.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning anyway. So yeah, that's my
Might as
routine. I
well
go to
get a
bed.
head start.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was 10:30. I went to sleep last night. And sometimes I have problems getting to sleep. Sometimes it's staying asleep. Um Last night was staying asleep. And I do that thing you're not supposed to do, get on my phone and like doom scroll. But um my sister told me about this really awesome sleep podcast, and that does seem to help a little bit. But yeah, overall, the sleeping part is the worst.
It is. And I don't like relying on things to help me sleep.
No.
I don't and rely, I don't want to, not meaning like the podcast and stuff is good, but like relying on like, supplements
Yeah.
or prescriptions or things like that. I don't want to do that necessarily. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it makes me nervous to be on that like long term,
Yeah, me
essentially.
too. Yeah.
So it's frustrating because then I'm just like, okay, well, I mean, it's like trying to like pick your battle. Like, okay, do I just cave and take something that I know will help me sleep? Or do I just muscle through it? But then I'm just exhausted because I'm up half the night.
Well, and then it
And
becomes a vicious circle. You didn't medicate, you didn't sleep, so the next day you're gonna have 2 cups of coffee instead of your 1 cup of coffee. So then you can't sleep because you had coffee, but you have coffee because you can't sleep.
yeah, so true. Well, and coffee and any sort of caffeine anyway, um, really, really exacerbates my anxiety. And
Oh,
so I, struggle with that anyway. I was diagnosed 5 years ago with clinical depression and anxiety. And um, I've been in and out of bouts of therapy. I've done therapy. I'm a big advocate for getting therapy, and definitely had a therapist help me work through some stuff. I was medicated for a while, but again, and as as we established previously, um, I enjoy having sex with my husband, so I wasn't willing to give that up. And most of those mood stabilizing medications affect that, and it was definitely affecting that for me. And so I kind of was like trying to decide between the two. Luckily, I'm not so, my depression and anxiety is not so bad that I can't go without medication. But I've had to really learn the triggers, and caffeine obviously is a huge one. The news, it's a big one. So like doom scrolling is the worst thing for me to
oh
do.
yeah,
Reason.
terrible. Yeah,
But again, something I've noticed in menopause is that I felt like I was making all of these strides with those things and getting to a place where it was all very manageable. And like everything else in my body, like that went haywire. And
yeah,
so I am noticing in Perry that it is increasing those issues again. I'm frequently having more not full blown anxiety attacks, but definitely full blown like bouts of real extreme anxious, anxiety and anxiousness of feeling like my heart's racing, or I'm gonna like crawl out of my own skin, or um, just letting my mind go crazy with like all the things that to be anxious about, which is like literally everything on the planet.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I am on anxiety medication. I have been for quite a while, but I do think my anxiety has increased since entering this stage of my life. And yeah, my triggers are definitely I know caffeine's one of them too, but for some reason I just can't stop it. And yeah, like we're preparing my husband and I are preparing to go on a trip, and that has made my anxiety just like I have been spiraling a lot lately thinking of this international trip we're going on. What could happen here while we're gone? What could happen over there? I've been spiraling about that, and just a lot of too much time in my own head lately, I think. And my general practitioner, she's really good. And we talk about it every time I have a physical and adjust medications and such. But yeah, anxiety has been an issue lately for me too.
well, and of course, we both know, and as most people do, there's a lot to be anxious about.
Yeah.
A lot of things always going on, and and not just in this time, but at any time there's always things to worry about. We're parents, we're wives, like we have jobs, like you and I are both overthinkers
Oh
by
yeah.
nature, so so I'm like, we're always like 10 steps ahead, overthinking about all the horrific what ifs. um
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, my dad used to say, he used to say, "Don't go borrowing trouble," and I never really understood what that meant. But now as an adult, I do. Like, why are you looking? Why are you looking for issues? Why are you
I
creating
like
these issues in your head? Yeah. Why are you creating these
that. Yeah,
issues in your head that haven't even happened yet and really probably won't happen? So stop it when you're in the shower thinking about this is what you should say to this person if they say this. Like, you're not going to control other people, other things that go on. Like, today at work was a great, for instance, like when I could not get logged on to that webinar and I was spiraling a little bit and sweating really bad. And I'm like, this is not good. Like, I have to be there. We are presenting. And like, that was like, I can't leave Lissa. I can't do that to Lissa. I can't get logged on. They all think I'm stupid. And like, just a pile of sweat by the time I got logged on.
I will tell you, nobody thinks you're stupid. But Lissa was also sweating a little. So I'm like, we have got to get Molly on.
I know. I was like, I can't get to Kansas City in time to do this. But it is amazing what
um,
anxiety will do to you and your perspective in that, I created that whole scenario, and that was what, maybe 10 minutes, right? Maybe it was longer, I don't know. But like, I
yeah,
created this whole thing that they're all sitting on this webinar waiting for me, making fun of me, like, oh, she's so stupid, she can't get logged on. And Lissa's like, yeah, I'm stuck with this stupid shit. I made this whole thing up. And then by the time I got on, like, we did our presentation and it was fine like it always is. And like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you would think that the fact that things work out, that would be enough for us to be like, it'll work out, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Why is that
Like,
not
never
Pavlovian in people? Like, why does that
I
not,
know.
like, it's worked before, it's gonna work again. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Calm
One
your
of
tits.
my calm your titties. I say that all the time. I actually say that to my kids too, which is probably people would probably judge that, but I do say it. No, I had a therapist that said to me, and I will never forget this, and I do. I will never forget it. I don't necessarily listen to it, and I should, because she said anxiety she's talking about how it's like your fight or flight, right? That like people with anxiety, their like fight or flight mode is active all the time. That they're always in this like place of, got to be prepared to, save my own life, even though most of the time that's not the situation we're in. And so she said, you're so busy thinking about all of the scenarios, the things you're making up in your head, the things you're trying to kind of preemptively like get ahead of. But the one thing you're not considering and not thinking about is how it could work out and how it could be fine.
That's so true,
And I
though.
was, it is. And I was just like, when she said it, again, I feel like that's not really all that profound. And
No,
yet, like in
no,
my mind, like you should have seen my face. Like when she said it, and I'm just like, why have I never considered that?
because it's so much easier in your life to think about like the bad things and to concentrate on the things that you excelled at. Like if you could just actually switch that around in your brain and think, I was really good at this. I don't know. Maybe there are people who can do that. That's not me.
That is not me. I'm married to somebody like that, which is very good for me because he is so logical and like even keeled that he's really good about, he's had to learn. I mean, we've been together a long time. So like he's had to learn how to like kind of recenter me without being like, just don't worry about it. Because I'm like,
That's one of my
that
favorite memes
doesn't
right
help.
now. That's one of my favorite memes right now. Hey guys, my husband said everything's fine. So I guess it is. He fixed it.
Right. Right. It's the most common response. I mean, I can even say like my own mom growing up, like that was an often like said response to her, and not, to like put her down. I'm like, but she was one that, because I've been this way my whole life. Like
Yeah.
I can remember being told many times as a kid, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You're getting way ahead of yourself. And my mom would say things like, just don't worry about it. Like, just try to put that out of your mind and don't worry about it. And those are all things I've tried to do, but it's not that simple. And as a child who was labeled just a worrywart, I'm like, well, as it turns out, it's really, I have anxiety. And that's what's always kind of like driven the things I've done and the way I've behaved and how I have handled things, because I internalize so much and then I just fret over it. And I'm like, trust me. And if you're upset and you're worried and you have something going on, I'll take that for you. Like I will also be worried for you.
Well, that reminds me of last weekend or the weekend before, I sent you a text message that was supposed to be funny, but it was kind of dirty. And then, like, for the rest of the weekend, I could not stop thinking that was the dumbest thing I sent. I can't believe I sent that. She probably thinks I'm a perv.
No, she knows you're a perv, but she likes
But like, I worried about it all weekend. I'm like, should I message her and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Eventually, I actually did do that. But
it. You
like,
did, yeah.
but like, it bugged me, and I stewed on it for I think it was all weekend, and it was the dumbest thing.
I know, and it was like something that made me laugh. And then when you were like, "Hey, sorry for that weird thing," and I was like, "What?" Like I had to like think about it, and then I'm like, "No, I thought it was funny." Like, and we're good enough friends that if I'm like, "Don't do that," like if you say
Yeah,
something, and like we correct each other very quickly when we're like, "Don't say that ever again."
right. When I called you Pookie,
I was like, "What is that? We're
I'm
not
trying
doing
something
that.
new. I'm trying something new.
No, not doing that."
No, 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 no.
I definitely think that since being in this place, those feelings and those like that overthinking, that anxiety, it's gone into overdrive.
Yeah,
So now I am just like, I'm always like in my own head about something that it's just like, I've told you before, like when I don't hear from my boss, I'm like, well, obviously she's upset with me or I've done something. And so that's why I'm not hearing from her, because that's weird. I would hear from
and I
her.
and I think so. You and I both do that, and I think
Mhm.
while we are all overthinkers, we also work from home. So we're not sitting in a cubicle looking at people. And so it's really easy to get into your own head. And I think that's where our buddiness helps. And I think that is what a lot of women need. They need somebody who um, they can get a little, like, oh my, you can spiral with somebody. You have to have somebody you can spiral with who can ground you. And I think that's really good about our friendship because we take turns spiraling and we take turns like grounding each other. And I think women need that, especially in this stage where like you're sad, you're happy, you're crying, you're exhausted. And bouncing these things off of somebody is so important, I think.
Absolutely. And you feel really alone. Like
Yeah.
I think that's helped us a lot as we began to start talking about this. We started talking about this probably what, a year or so ago, not the podcast specifically, but just like some of the symptoms that we were starting to
Yeah.
experience. And you know, like I said before, like I was really feeling like I was just crazy because so many people were like, "Oh, you're not old enough. You're not old enough to be at that place in your life yet." And so then I was like, "So you're telling me I'm just crazy then? Like that
Yeah.
I'm experiencing these things and I don't know who to talk to because nobody's taking me serious. I'm being dismissed from like my, peers and, people that I would talk to. And, it's hard to get doctors to always listen. That makes it difficult. And so you feel really alone. And I
Yeah.
think in our generation, um, we kind of have this mentality of being like, we're just going to have to suck it up. Like, quit being such a baby. It's not that big of a deal. Just be fine. You'll be fine. Because that was how we were raised. And I think
Yeah.
it's just kind of, I think the boomer generation would be like, the Gen Z generation is soft, and they kind of are to some degree. But they said that about us. And
Yeah.
so, but I think that like part of what has changed with that generation is that our generation of parents have tried to kind of shift a little bit to be like, like I know for me personally with our kids that they don't run our house. They're not in charge. Like we're the adults, like they're the kids. So there's still
Yeah.
things they have to respect and they still have to do because that's the way it is. And they have to respect authority. However, I want them to know, as well as Jimmy, like we want them to know that they are allowed to have feelings. They're entitled to those feelings. We've tried to cultivate like a space for them to share those feelings. One thing my kids will tell you that I've said to them a lot is that you are allowed to be mad at me. You're not allowed to disrespect me because I want them to feel like it's okay. So when they're worried and they're anxious and they're upset about something, I try to hear them out because I do feel like that's one thing with our generation that we weren't, we really, it just wasn't how we were raised. It wasn't how our parents were raised. And so I think that it was just collectively, we were all just kind of like, no, you just kind of suck it up. This is the way it is. Crying
You know
about it
what's
isn't going to solve anything.
funny is I remember in like I think it was sixth grade, um, our teacher created this thing where we took home. It was called a feelings jar, and like you were supposed to like write out your feelings and put it in this jar. And I remember one point I was like being a brat, and I was like just being a typical sixth grader brat. And I remember my mom and dad saying, "I think you need to write your feelings down." And I remember thinking that is just the grossest thing ever. Like, let's not talk about this again. We've
We're
never
going to
talked about
pretend like
feelings
that jar
before.
doesn't.
Yeah, we've never talked about feelings before. Gross.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say going through puberty, I remember how you would just like cry, right? Like you would just
Yeah.
like you'd be so upset and you didn't even know why, much like menopause. And I do remember my mom telling me, um, frustrated with me, I'm sure. I mean, I don't really remember all of it. I'm sure she was frustrated with me at first because I deal with this with my own daughter. And it was probably like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you acting like this? But then I remember her telling me, like, she just said, sometimes you just need to cry.
Oh,
And
that's
I get,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. And it was like, I mean, that was probably our first, like, girl to girl. Like, she
Yeah.
was like, she took the mom hat off and was just like, I get it. Like, that's
Yeah.
girl stuff. And I understand. And so I have also repeated that to my daughter, who has done the same things, who is melting down, and we're in a house full of males. And so, the boys are standing back, like, what is going on? Like, what is wrong with her? Much like they do with me. Um, and even Jimmy, he has sympathy And he's good, he's patient, he's far more patient than I am. But he doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't
No,
get that. I get that. And so
yeah,
when I have to not let it make me feel ragey, then I try to repeat that same sentiment to her. So I will say, like, I think our parents, they weren't extremely like, you're not allowed to have feelings, the
yeah,
end. But I think in general, it was just kind of more of an expectation that it was just like, you're not going to sit and cry about this, and nobody cares about your feelings. Like, you're just going to have to keep going. And I've said that to my kids, that when they're like, were you allowed to do that? Like, I wasn't allowed to have feelings. Like, trust me, you already have it so much better.
I had a feelings jar for one day.
And it made you feel gross.
It was just the grossest thing ever. And my parents weren't like weird about it. It just was weird to me. You know what I mean? Like, I think they were trying to be supportive of this, and to me it was like, what the hell? We don't talk about feelings.
We,
No.
we don't do feelings.
But like on the flip side, like I feel like I'm recognizing it in my own daughter as well. And she can like have a moment where she like freaks out, and I don't like stop it. I don't step in and like, hey, knock it off. I let her have her moment. Um, and then when she's done and she stomps off to her room, my husband will look at me and he's like, "What just happened?" I'm like, "Welcome to girls. This is life
Buckle
now.
up.
This is life now." And in a few minutes, she's gonna come out and say that she feels really bad, and we'll just go with it.
Yeah. Yep. And the truth is, she probably really does, because I
Yeah,
feel like that's where we can relate to our daughters.
yeah,
Because when I freak out and I've melted down, and then when I come back around, then it's like I do genuinely feel bad. When I crashed
yeah,
out about deodorant and then sent everybody out the door, I felt terrible. Like, I sat in that I'm here by myself, and
yeah,
I'm like, I just freaked out on all of them about deodorant, and then was like,
yeah.
bye, have a great day.
Mama loves you.
Right. I mean, they were probably afraid to hug me goodbye. And I don't
Okay,
blame them.
bye.
Right.
Yeah. We've really touched on some great stuff today, I think. I think what we're experiencing, like just us talking about it, um, I feel a little better in my day, actually. I know that's cheesy, but like I'm not in this alone. I have you and everybody else, all my friends. We're all doing this. And we just have to step back from it once in a while and maybe recognize what it is. But mental health is a big component of this that I don't think gets talked about. Like we said before, it's hot flashes that gets talked about. Um, it's all this stuff that we're kind of delving into that like others are seeing as well.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do, is build our band of sisters.
Band of sisters.
We're all in this together, right?
I think so. But I do think the more we talk about it, the more we research, we'll find that actually, sadly, we are normal. This is life. There's nothing unique
Terrifying.
about us. This is it.
So terrifying.
Yeah, isn't it? God damn it, I'm normal. Who knew? Who knew?
Not very many people, I think, in our circles.
Right, right. Yeah. I will say, to go back to last week, I'm really battling dry lips this week. It's been really bad.
Mine has not been too terrible, but I will say that itchy inner ear thing,
Oh,
like, that has been really bad for me particularly the last 2 days, where I actually, and this is not a recommendation to anybody, because even on the Q-tip box, it says don't put it in your ear, which we all call bullshit on. We all use it for our ears.
what else
But
are
I
they
made my
for?
ear hurt. I don't know. That's like a whole nother soapbox issue I have, because I'm like, there was a comedian I was watching a while back that was talking about that, and how he was like, they didn't become a successful billion-dollar corporation not being used in people's ears. Like, that's what it's for. but I actually made my ear hurt. Like it made it not like I didn't actually hurt my inner ear, but like I made it kind of raw on the outside of it
Oh, yeah.
from like scratching the inside of my ear. So I don't really, I mean, I had to like stop, but I don't know what to do otherwise because it is like such a deep inner ear itch. It's very frustrating. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just dealing with the lips this week. No other well, in the rage, but no other like physical ailments this week other than my dry lip.
yeah, no
But
rage this week for me either, but I cried a lot.
I haven't cried any. The
I
week is
did.
still early, right? No, wait, today's Thursday, right?
Yeah, the week's almost
Oh,
over.
I've almost made a whole week. Yeah, wait. I haven't even watched Called the Midwife. That usually makes me cry. But I have an idea. I have an idea.
Okay.
I want to pose this to our listeners, all three of you out there. Um, what are your top 5 symptoms? Let us know on our Facebook page what your top 5 symptoms are that you're dealing with. Mine is my lips, my hip, overall dryness, moodiness. How many is that? I don't even know. But I'm interested to see what other people are dealing with this week
Oh yeah,
or in general.
definitely. Inquiring minds want to know.
Ooh, nice. Very
I
old
know, right?
school of
I mean,
you. Yeah.
at least all 5 of us.
The good thing about this podcast being people our age and older is we can do those like quotes and stuff from the 80s and everybody will understand it. You have your assignment, everybody, all three of you out there. Let us know.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Hey, if you enjoyed the chaos,
Hit subscribe, leave a review,
or text it to your group chat of women who are secretly Googling, is this normal?